that provides for violations, basically of a beer permit holder, what they can do that's wrong. Most of those are spelled out within our ordinance, specifically section 8-11, prohibited conduct or activities by beer permit holders. But we just wanted to add in a little line at the end of that section that would also prohibit anyone from engaging in any other conduct that's prohibited by this Tennessee statute. I think it'll just cover us for anything in the future. There have been some things recently that have changed within the statute, so this is just kind of our catch-all provision. So that's really kind of all I've got as far as ordinance-wise. So I think if you all are okay with us presenting that, we can get that sent on this next agenda. We are paying attention to, there are a few changes that are maybe going to be coming in the statutes in the near future, so we're kind of just paying attention to that here at the House, I think, right now. So we'll keep you updated on that if there's any changes, but so that's all we have for right now as far as the beer ordinance change.
Is there a problem we're solving or preventing, or what's the issue?
No, we're just doing a catch-all. I think one law that has recently changed, and maybe can step in, one law that's recently changed is it's a violation. You have to present an ID, and if an ID isn't requested to be presented, then that would be a violation. So again, we don't have that specifically spelled out within our 8-11. So we just want to make it very clear that, and just another, I guess, really avenue for beer permit holders to look to as far as, hey, what things can I not do that refers to the statute.
So we don't already have that in our ordinance that you have to present an ID?
I don't know that that's spelled out specifically within our ordinance on prohibited conduct.
I think this clarifies when we talk about prohibited conduct. It basically says if you break state law, if you commit a violation of state law, and they're guilty to that violation, it gives the beer board the right to react to that action. That is the part where it's kind of thing. As the state law changes, and we can come back each time the state law changes, and bring it to the beer board and say, okay, the state law changes, but they violate this law now, or this part of the law is a violation. But what this allows us to do is to have that same level of enforcement without having to come back every time the state law changes. We adopted state traffic law for the same reason.
So if somebody is cited under that change and they come in with their lawyer and the lawyer says, are you expecting our clients to know anytime the state law changes that may not be specified by the city ordinance, or are we likely to lose that argument? What I'm saying is, we're asking for something that says sort of a catch-all and any future changes in state law. Would an attorney argue, my client is not supposed to know what changes are in state law, they just read the beer ordinance?
And if this beer ordinance references that definition, that statute, then
That'll hold up. You can defend that in court.
And the same with, we have in here our definition of beer, because I don't know if you all recall, but the definition of beer has changed over the past few years as far as the alcohol content and things like that. And so within our actual definition of beer in our beer ordinance, we refer to, or as defined by TCA 57.5.101, I believe, so to cover as that may change, the alcohol content may change.
But regardless, we have always required that you show an ID, haven't we? I mean, in order to sell somebody beer, they have to show an ID, and that's what we're talking about.
We've always used state law.
Yes.
We've always used state law. This basically gives us, I think it has to reduce the possibility of this case by saying, we have, you all as a board have the authority to react to violation of state law. That's our main thing.
Just so you can defend it in court.
Absolutely.
Lauren, it's been my understanding all my life that ignorance of the law is no excuse.
Absolutely.
Okay.
If it's not written down, you can't
outdoor areas. Outdoor areas basically have to be defined, they're defined as a patio, deck, outdoor area, it has to be contiguous to the exterior of the building, operated and controlled by the business, and then even fenced in or surrounded, by a 40-inch high barrier, things like that. So I know we have been receiving some questions of, hey, what can we do to let our, patrons go outside with their beer? The way that our ordinance reads right now is, that it's very strict on outdoor serving areas. So maybe just kind of something to think about. I don't know if anyone's received any questions from any of the permit holders about what they can do, to maybe expand this or change this. But that's a question that I received.
All right.
Lauren, Tony mentioned that we're, have the park rules for Fulton Hill Park. And in that, because that is one of our parks in which we can serve alcohol. And in those rules was a section on alcohol, which was written by Deputy Chief Wisecarver and Craig, who helped him with that. Wisecarver, there. So it'd probably be a good idea because that was written by our police department, and the reason it was written by them is because they're gonna have to be the ones that enforce it.
Right.
Probably a good idea for you to look over it to make sure, since there are some changes here too.
Does our outdoor beer drinking mirror most of the people in our area, or surrounding areas?
I'm trying to think where we came up with some of this label. I know it's been a while when we put that in.
We had a business several years back, when we could serve on the patio. That's what we initially did, service on the patio. At the time, we moved it surrounding areas, wanted to serve on the patio. And this is the question, it did at the time, it was, I do not think it was been revisited since. And something I did get to bid was, based on some of the questions we were receiving, what if they just come in, step outside, keep the shop. And I looked at some of these surrounding areas. There are some areas where they serve beer, and they don't take that, but it's only on there is a perimeter control during special events. You can't just go into those areas. We have received a question about how many thought they do this other city from emergency, so they come in and get the beer, they can continue to shop. And I think that not to be accurate. What I found to be accurate was, they do have events where you go in and get your beer, but then you have that boundary control, and it's only during special events, which is a special permitted event.
And so you're looking at that now?
That was a question, that wasn't anything, that's simply a question, when we get this person back to our current ordinance, for outside service. Yep, as of now, that would be the only thing that would be new compliance with the part of that company.
We've already got that covered, in other words. Yes, right.
So are we prepared to see this on the next agenda consideration?
Is there no objection to it? Okay. All right.
Next up, we have a presentation on a potential donation to the city for recreation facility.
They granted job, George Job, my father, her husband passed away back in September. He was a big advocate of special needs kids, so we worked kids with him for years in various functions. We were requesting to build a handicap facility playground at the Jackson Street park, it's on our city. Mom would like to let the builders do it all and they donate to the city. Jimmy's working on the paperwork. We'll do that, so we come to y'all for that.
The Jackson Street one is across the street from Fred Miller Park, that's where you're talking about.
Yeah, there's a private on the front.
I think that's perfect. Perfect.
thank you for that.
Well, I think we need to thank you
Oh,
for it.
wow. And you're gonna get to name it as well, I assume. You're gonna name it as well.
Oh, yeah.
I love it.
Ms. Johnny, I don't think the city has ever gotten a donation that wonderful before, or that large, not to my knowledge.
And I know there will be children from other counties that will come to you.
Sure.
Because I don't know if we have another one nearby. So I do think it will be used. And, I think it was 20 years ago when Gene and I were at Virginia Beach, and they had just dedicated this, park. They want us to say, I don't know, this is special needs. I grew up way back when, and it was handicap, so if I don't use the but we both thought that was just the greatest thing for those children. So, they were asking, is there anything wrong with it? And I said, yeah. So, he and Mr. Weiss, we went meetings, and that's what's some good stuff with that.
Yeah, Rachel's got a couple of different concepts that y'all been looking at, there's one there, and then the Center development, that's the site, there's a potential for using that, I think, fits well, and I think it's a very gracious, consideration of donation.
Ms. Johnny, this city could never thank you enough for this opportunity because those children are special. And sometimes we don't do all we need to do for them. And this council is very much, and never will show you our appreciation as much as we should. Thank you.
All goes well, we hope to have it started in the month, all designed, and then hopefully have it ready open sometime September.
Joyce, Randall, you all, you have such big hearts, and you have been so good to the youth over the years, always. Thank you.
This year, they'll have that, and use.
Thank you very much, Randall and Joyce.
As with most things we do, there will be some paperwork, some agreements that need to be drawn up. You'll see those as we come forward. I'm not sure exactly about the time we're working on developing that language, but it's a good problem to begin with. We're excited about seeing it come forward.
Tony, I think Councilman Pettigo and myself will really enjoy that part.
Targeted audience, that's good. All right. The third thing that I asked to add to the workshop tonight, on Friday, we talked a little bit about congestion in Alpha around 160 and West AJ, and concern we've had about some accidents in the area, some congestion around businesses. You recall that TDOT came and laid out a proposal of making some modifications in their resurfacing project that would require us to agree to them and make some local improvements that would make it functional. So we would make improvements primarily along Bulldog Lane and perhaps reconfigure some driveway entrances. I thought when we left Friday, we had a consensus to move forward with that. We expressed that to Dexter at TDOT. However, I've heard some questions and concerns since then that led me to believe there may be some, I may have misinterpreted. So I bring it back today for a final, where do you want to go, and do you want the city to participate in that project, or do we tell TDOT to move forward with the original plan?
I have very little enthusiasm for committing $375,000 in city money to building new driveways at that location. As we study that afterwards, I would not support that.
I think we also, Mayor, have to realize that we have traffic cameras there. We have directional signals and the lights there. We're doing an awful lot to try to protect the people in that intersection. I don't see that doing protection is really any more than what we're doing.
raised, and the, situation was brought to the attention of, council members, council, and several of those questions were posed to me. I in no way realized that, it would create such a revamping of an entire intersection to that level there. And, I can't see us going forward with it at that level.
Yeah, I know we've been talking about this area for a long time, a lot of ideas have been explored, and it's not an easy solution, but I understand the hesitancy to make the changes that, I think there's still some concerns about it, even when how they would work if we put them in place. But I wanna make clear that if we walk away, TDOT is not gonna put the extra turn lanes in, they're not gonna reconfigure the driveways. They're simply gonna resurface the road as it is, and will continue to work this way. So, am I understanding from the consensus of the group now is we do not want to participate, we ask them to move forward with the original plan?
May I ask one question before you go there?
Certainly.
My thought was that you could take like down through the middle, and I was thinking just something like a median concrete that prevented people from cutting across 4 lanes. Is that, that would not just for a certain section from the red light back, but, evidently they feel like you have to configure the entire thing to this.
I think their traffic engineers have worked long and hard, and they explored a lot of ideas that didn't work. I don't know that that's been one of them, but they seem pretty comfortable that, this was their best shot, and I think it's pretty much take it or leave it and not try and modify it.
What I have seen in other places, flashing lights before you get to congested and dangerous intersections. Would something like that be on us only?
No,
Would it be
it's on
something we'd
state
have to
ground, we could
install?
ask them to install, and I think that's something we could pass along.
There's one coming east there. There's a flashing light coming east.
Is there?
Yes.
It's across the top.
All right, so
Okay.
consensus is
What was the net cost of the parking cost of the city?
$350,000 to build the new road from Bulldog into the McDonald's area and to resurface Bulldog would be our primary expense. Well, between $300 and $350 is our estimate.
And what you were changing is changing the egress and ingress for about 4 different establishments.
That's right. And those businesses have been approached, they were all aware of the concerns there, they were receptive to the ideas, or at least willing to go along.
We're willing for us to go along and spend.
That's right, if they're spending our money, they're happy for that, so.
Yeah.
So, the answer is, pass it along to TDOT, thank you very much, but not at this time.
That sounds like a good response.
That's what we have for today, unless you have something else.
Yes, I'd like to ask you a question. I've noticed by the bus stop, that there's some big rocks out there. Have we made a decision what's gonna happen to them?
On the,
Walking trail?
on the walking trail, no, the reconfiguration of the low dollar tire, they're trying to build a pad out there. We do have some bollard arrangements to keep people from driving on those sidewalks. We've agreed to delay that to allow them to finish their construction, but there's a sketch we can get you on the game plan.
What about the bus station? Are we not gonna let them?
They'll come all the length of that trail.
They'll be able to come to the back of the building. Okay.
That's the plan, but I'll get you a drawing so we make it clear.
Wait, you're saying we're not gonna close that road then?
No, that's still before planning commission. The property owner, between the two of the adjoining property owners are having a little discussion about how things will work afterwards.
Well, I don't understand, maybe after you give me the drawing, but am I recalling what you told us correctly in that you want the people with the tire store to be able to go to the back of their store? Then if you're gonna close that, how are they gonna get to the back of their store?
That'll be a private drive.
A private drive, which then does not allow the people who own the bus garage who have the concern about your closing it, they won't have a private drive to the back of their building.
That's correct, they did not. They
They will
wouldn't have a
not.
connection back to the company.
Then I don't think we need to close it.
Did they agree to do that? Their argument was that we were blocking
until the point they started having a little kind of property line dispute and some other discussions, so, but my original response was with regard to parking on the sidewalk, that's where my mind was. To the rear was pretty much at the request of all the property owners. But, again, it has been tabled at planning commission. We'll let them look at it and give you a recommendation. That would have to come back to you all for final decision. Let them kind of vet it out with the property owners and give you a
I
recommendation.
just want to ask a question about if it reverts to a private drive, doesn't that still give them access?
It certainly would for the low dollar type. I think it's less clear than it would for the Greyhound station.
But our citizens are allowed to change their mind, aren't they?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
as is council but yes, I think that's a consideration.
Well, it was my understanding that we basically wrote a letter to those people and said, if you were against it, let us know. If not, we're gonna go ahead and proceed. That's not good business. We need to go, especially if we're making a major change in their situation, we need to talk to them directly. And not just say, if you don't want to do it, let us know.
Yeah, I don't know for sure the process, but we'll follow up. I think you're correct.
Thank you.
All right, that's what we have.
Anything else? All right, we're done.
All right, so that's it.